Today we're looking at 7 lyrics that will get your mojo back. Now I don't mean in the Austin Powers meaning of the word, but that is a future video idea I haven't yet ruled out, but more back to loving life. No more killing time or watching the hours go by. With these different perspectives on life and the time we throw away, we'll say adios to what has already been, so we're left with what actually matters. Since making these lyric videos, especially the last one on time, I'm even more aware that your time is precious, so let's just cut to the chase and go full dad mode and look at Billy Joel's lyric from the song Vienna. Quick context before getting to the line, he was inspired when he was in Vienna meeting his dad and he saw an old woman happily sweeping the street. He goes to his dad, "Why is she 90 years old happily sweeping the street?" And his dad replied, "She's got a job, she feels useful, she's happy." That seemed to be the norm in Vienna, not that I've ever been, but from their account, no one's rushing as we often do. And this is what sparked the idea for the song to be from the perspective of his dad telling him to stop rushing. Have a listen.
Slow down, you're doing fine. You can't be everything you wanna be before your time.
The first line we've already covered, and you don't need me telling you how to slow down, but here's what Billy said about the line. You don't have to squeeze your whole life into your 20s and 30s trying to make it, trying to achieve that American dream, getting in the rat race and killing yourself. You have a whole life to live. For me, this message still falls on deaf ears. I know I'm going to attempt to edit this video in a single day, looking out the window like the Squidward meme. Anyway, that's an insight into my solitary life you didn't ask for, so let's get to the second line. You can't be everything you want to be before your time. A huge part of coming to terms with time is the realisation that you can't do it all, and will miss out on almost everything. You might think I've overshot the runway with that claim, but think about how much variety there is in life. Even if you've lived life on 2 times speed and did something new every single day, you wouldn't scratch the surface. If you keep trying to be everything you want to be, you'll only be disappointed. Worse than that, you'll also resent the slower moments as it can't compete with the endless possibilities found in fantasizing about alternate experiences. Lamenting over missed time crops up in the next song by Jim Croce called Time in a Bottle, who is wishing he could just store time in a bottle so it lasts forever. The fact he died at 30 adds another layer of tragedy to this desperately hopeful wish. But the following lyric I picked out actually dismantles this hope.
But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them.
As we've already covered this with the last lyric, let me change tact and extend a philosophical olive branch to the French absurdist Albert Camus. He has a name for this feeling, calling it existential anguish, dizzy at the abundance of choices and, with the shortness of life, also resentful of the choices that you've chosen. And so, in Jim's words, it feels that no matter what you do, there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want. To quote another Jim Morrison from The Doors, the future's uncertain and the end is always near. Okay, I realise I'm veering off a bit into depressing waters, so let's look at how to break through this existential anguish. You've got to admit that missed potential is inevitable. I personally think about the many alternate realities I could be living a lot, but over time I've realised that when I do this, I'm just planting too many seeds and neglecting the plant that's right in front of me. Of course, this isn't to say we're not capable of living a life that doesn't serve ourselves. I mean, I consume so much cheese well aware of the immediate repercussions. But aside from my lactose intolerance, too often we put the tasks that need doing on hold, believing we have all the time in the world. But this is where this Radiohead line by Thom Yorke comes in and hits home.
I'm not living, I'm just killing time.
The first time I actually heard this line, I was sunken in my beanbag chair playing my PlayStation at an ungodly hour. It killed the enjoyment instantly, but hey, I only had myself to blame, including Radiohead in my upbeat playlist. Again, that's a window into my life you didn't ask for, so less about me, let's give the line some actual context. When Tom wrote this, it was about a guy persuading their lover to wait in the hope that time will heal the wounds, and with the lyric, "I'm not living, I'm just killing time," they're waiting in the wings, or rather, wasting away until they come back. That's a state of purgatory no one wants to be in, unwilling to move on based on a hope that they'll come back. That stubbornness can make a breakup even more painful than it needs to be. There's also another Radiohead song, Present Tense, on the same album that follows these same stubborn lines. Have a listen.
I won't turn around, never penny drop. Won't stop now, won't slack off. All this love will be in vain.
That last line's the kicker. It's what keeps relationships going on for longer than their shelf life. It would have all been for nothing, all those years wasted, but is living in a lie really living, or is it just killing time? A similar message is also found in the next line by Fleetwood Mac from the song Landslide.
Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I've built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too.
For context, Nix is lamenting on a failed relationship, feeling unable to maintain the life she's created that's collapsing in on her like a landslide. We've covered the ground of the first two lines in the previous lyric, so let's unpack the other bit. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. It's the silver lining of time that you gain a wiser perspective through aging, and the things that seemed important at the time become trivial. To quote the Kinks from Living on a Thin Line, it doesn't seem to matter very much anymore. Sure, there's going to be remnants of the wreckage that can persist, but with distance, you can look at your younger self like you're McConaughey in Interstellar. Or you can look at it in the same perspective as we saw in Vienna, as a father and their son, and sympathetically laugh at your younger naive self in that way, astonished at the importance that you put on the situation at the time. On to the next line of the song, Even Children Get Older. At first that seems like pretty basic observation skills from Nix, but I do think there is something insightful about this. With Nix seeing that children also age like her, it's bringing into view that we all go through these same patterns of life, and they too will rise above their feelings as time passes, just like you did. Number 5, Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones with Beast of Burden.
I'll never be your beast of burden, so let's go home and draw the curtains.
If you don't know what a beast of burden means, let me explain quickly. It's an animal, usually a donkey or a horse, whose sole purpose is to carry heavy loads. What Mick Jagger does is use it as a metaphor for being submissive to his lover, serving them and fulfilling their requests. It's a desperate cry to get his freedom back. What's good about the lyric is that he's aware that his autonomy is being challenged and is protesting against it, standing up for himself and wanting to defuse the situation. Now with the second line, he's still trying to salvage the relationship, go home and draw the curtains. Of course, it might just be best to call quits if he's feeling controlled, but the message still sticks, to not always be the one who carries the heavy load, as eventually you'll topple over and feel victimised, despite it being your choice to strap yourself to the load. This next song by the Byrds is about embracing the temporary nature of life, that nothing is permanent. Let's look at the first verse.
A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep.
These lyrics are almost identical to the Old Testament book of Ecclesiastes. You know I looked up how to pronounce that. Anyway, there's a priceless insight to the nature of time. With us being finite, we can't control time, and as such, you should respect the fact that there's a time and a place for everything that comes your way. Although the feeling that we can't escape time can feel suffocating, we shouldn't want it any other way. What do I mean? Well, with us living in time, life is always in a state of change, and it adds a freshness to experience. To quote another line from the song, to everything there is a season, and we wouldn't want it any other way, even if it meant we could live forever. Can you imagine living in just one season all your life? Actually, that's easy, just think of LA, where the only change to the constant sun is when it's on fire. How could you appreciate anything without change? It's unnatural. I mean, it's even a struggle putting up with a full season without longing for the next season to start. Number 7, Paul McCartney in Wings with Mrs. Vanderbilt. I thought I'd end with this one that doesn't need much explaining, as I've talked enough at this point. Here it is.
What's the use of worrying? What's the use of hurrying? What's the use of anything?
I was watching a documentary on him and he said he was robbed at gunpoint when he was in Africa and his demo tapes were stolen. Although he was mad for a few hours, he moved on surprisingly quickly. What's the use? It's already happened. Paul said it was a trait of his to get worked up straight after an inconvenience if you call being robbed at gunpoint an inconvenience, but then he'd move on really quickly. I can't say the same for me, I'm a menace when my internet goes down. Anyway, I've gone on long enough, so let's leave it there. See you next time.